Okay, welcome back. We're back in our Bible study series, John or Lazarus, who wrote the fourth gospel. This is episode 2, the disciple whom Jesus loved. So just to get us started here, first as a note, the titles of the four gospels are not inspired. I'm sure you know that. That's just a reminder. The titles are based on the traditional names of those who are assumed to have been the writers of those gospels. So we've got Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. There may be reason to question the authorship of the other gospels. However, for this study, we're only focusing on the fourth gospel. So what we want to look at is the author's self-identification. So the author of the fourth gospel only refers to himself as the disciple whom Jesus loved. He never refers to himself as John or by any other name. So we want to look at that verse that confirms that this self-identification. This is in John 21. It says, "Then Peter, turning around, saw the disciple whom Jesus loved following, who also had leaned on his breast at supper, and said, 'Lord, who is the one who betrays you?' Peter, seeing him, said to Jesus, 'But Lord, what about this man?' Jesus said to him, 'If I will that he remain till I come, what is that to you? You follow me.' Then this saying went out among the brethren, that this disciple would not die. Yet Jesus did not say that he would not die, but, 'If I will that he remain till I come, what is that to you?' This is the disciple who testifies of these things and wrote these things, and we know that his testimony is true." So again, this disciple is the disciple whom Jesus loved. So our goal in this study is to determine who that disciple was. The traditional answer, as we all know, is that it was the Apostle John. The biblical answer, I believe, is Lazarus. We're going to take a look at that, and that's why we're doing this study, so we can just verify this and do some investigation on our own. So the disciple whom Jesus loved, I've also got BD here. That's for beloved disciple. That's just so we don't have to write it out every time. So if you see the BD, that's the same thing. So this term, the disciple whom Jesus loved, is used 5 times in the fourth gospel. All occurrences are after Lazarus was raised from the dead in chapter 11. And the first mention of the beloved disciple is in chapter 13. That's just interesting information there. So a side note, this is kind of funny. You go on the internet, some people believe the beloved disciple may have been a woman, Martha or Mary. That's interesting, and I think it's commendable. It's interesting that that at least they're thinking outside the box. They're going beyond the traditional view. But I think we can reject this pretty quickly. In John 19, this is Jesus when he's on the cross. He saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing by, and he said to his mother, "Woman, behold your son." So right there, if the beloved disciple is to be her son, so to speak, then it's safe to say that the beloved disciple is not a woman, it's a man. So I just wanted to put that behind us. So now we can move on. Okay, so the 5 beloved disciple passages, here they are in chronological order in the gospel. In John 13, after the Last Supper has ended, it says, "Now there was leaning on Jesus's bosom one of his disciples whom Jesus loved." And then at the cross, this is a verse we just saw. It said, "When Jesus therefore saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing by, he said to his mother, 'Woman, behold your son.'" And in John 20, after the empty tomb, "Then she, Mary Magdalene, ran and came to Simon Peter and to the other disciple whom Jesus loved, and said to them, 'They have taken away the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they have laid him.'" And then in John 21, my Bible titled this "The Breakfast by the Sea." "Therefore that disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, 'It is the Lord.' Now when Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put on his outer garment, for he had removed it, and plunged into the sea." And then finally, in that same last chapter, this is Peter's question regarding the beloved disciple. It says, "Peter, turning around, saw the disciple whom Jesus loved following them." This is when Jesus and Peter were walking, "who also had leaned on his breast at the supper, and said, 'Lord, who is the one who betrays you?'" So again, right now we're just planting seeds, but in upcoming episodes, we're going to see that it is very unlikely and almost even impossible that the Apostle John could fit the description of the beloved disciple as described in some of the passages above. So let's continue. This is important here too. So there are only two individuals in the New Testament that Jesus was said to have loved. Now we know God so loved the world. We're not talking about groups of individuals. We're just talking about a single person that Jesus, it was said that he loved him. So we have the rich young ruler in Mark 10:21. Here's the quote here. It says, "Then Jesus, looking at him, loved him and said to him, 'One thing you lack. Go your way, sell whatever you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. And come, take up the cross and follow me.'" And then the only other person is Lazarus. So in John 11:3, it says, "Therefore the sisters sent to him, saying, 'Lord, behold, he whom you love is sick.'" And then a couple verses later, John 11:5, "Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus." And again, as we pointed out earlier, the disciple whom Jesus loved was not a woman, but it was a man. And we have Jesus loving Martha and her sister and Lazarus. And this was never said individually of the Apostle John. I think that's important to note. So again, right now, this second episode, we're just planting seeds. We've only just begun. So we just look forward to having you continue with us in the study. Anytime you have comments, questions, or objections, again, we want to go through this together and kind of sort this out, see if this is true. So next episode, we're going to look at the major difference, or at least one major difference between the fourth gospel and the synoptic gospels, and see that kind of how that fits into the possibility of Lazarus being that the author of this gospel. But until then, contend earnestly for the faith which was once for all delivered to the saints, and God bless.